zero trust is one of those words that just sounds great.
That's why I said
I want zero trust. So zero trust is funny. I mean, it could basically means whatever I say it means,
Okay.
you know. But it came from the old school version of work where we had on-premise domains, right? Everybody had the authentication server was sitting there in the building. All the people's machines, everybody's machines were plugged in to that on a network with firewalls, intrusion detection, keeping anything coming in from the outside. So we were pretty safe.
we're behind the firewall, safe and
Behind
sound.
the firewall, yeah. Doesn't exist anymore. So the word zero trust comes in as kind of like a way to say, hey, those machines that were on your network that you could trust before and all that password, you could pretty much trust that was good. That's not trustable anymore because people
Not at all?
Well, they're
As in zero?
exactly. We can't trust them. So we don't trust them, and we make people prove extra things, either through MFA or somehow have the device authenticate through something called a compliance policy, which basically, you know, means the device is chiming in saying, hey, I'm still here. I've done the magic stuff. I got an antivirus working on me. You're in control of me. Here's how I prove that. So yeah, MFA is super important. And in the Microsoft world, we do that through conditional access policies. Conditional access policies is really the new firewall. That's your gatekeepers into everything. And that brings us back into talking about things like the Dropbox and all these other third-party tools. We don't want people authenticating directly to all of those places. We want all of that authentication to come through Entra, through a single sign-on, for a couple of reasons. Number one, now our access to all those third-party apps is also controlled through conditional access policies. And conditional access is where we get to say, you must MFA, at least, to get into, you know, your normal stuff. If something is super important, or if you're an account that has extra privileges, maybe we bump that up and say, well, you're not just going to be able to do a normal MFA. I need you to do an unphishable MFA with like a FIDO key. I'm going to pull my FIDO key out of my computer, like something like this. Or you can't use SMS, something that no one should be using anymore. If you're still using it, try and move away from it. Not as easier said than done, but there are ways to do it. You can move away from SMS, especially with things like the FIDO key. There's all sorts of attacks now on the internet that are becoming easier and easier. I just saw an attack the other day, an SMS attack that is becoming prevalent. SMS is very easy to break into. If you're using SMS as your second factor, you're probably going to lose your account eventually. If somebody focuses on you, they can just buy their way onto getting your text messages sent to them. But now what people are doing, a lot of people are enrolling in third-party SMS services. They get a phone number so that they don't have to use their phone, their actual number.
Yeah.
They get this other number that works on an app. Well, what if they put that in as their two-factor authentication, that phone number? And what if they don't really secure that account? They don't put MFA on that account. Well, now somebody broke into that account. Now they can get the
They've got the
SMS.
MFA.
It's
They've got the
crazy.
keys to the kingdom.
And the second they get in like that, the first thing they'll try and do is add another MFA method to their Entra account, so now they can persist. And then again, they'll see if you got Copilot. So yes, the strengthening authentication is key. If you can convince everybody to move to a FIDO key, which is considered an unphishable method, Windows Hello is as well, that is the way to go, especially for your administrative accounts and your executive accounts. One of the methods that's a commodity method on the internet right now, meaning the bad guys are selling this as a service. They'll set you up to do this. It's called adversary in the middle, where they send you an email, a phishing email. Looks like an email to reset your password. Okay, I'm lazy or I'm tired. I clicked on it. It's a Microsoft website, and I send my password. It used to be, that was just some server they had running. Now they got your password. Well, okay, they got my password, but they didn't get my MFA, so they still can't break into me. Not doing that anymore. Now, that server is a proxy server straight back to Microsoft. So you're actually talking to Microsoft. Microsoft sends you an MFA and you answer it. What's the benefit? Well, right after you get the MFA and you prove who you say you are, Microsoft sends you a token, which is a little blob that comes back to your computer that proves you are who you say you are. Don't have to MFA anymore for at least an hour. And that's what you send into Microsoft. Well, that proxy server just stole that. Now that person is you for at least an hour, and they don't need to MFA. So this key, and anything like it, including Windows Hello, prevents that. Because when the token comes back, it must be decrypted by this, which is sitting in my computer. So it doesn't matter if somebody intercepts it. So this is the gold standard right now. If you can't move to it en masse, move to it for your high-profile accounts, your administrative accounts. If you can, do other things like compliance for the computer. Make sure people are sitting at a computer that we own and control. So yes, that's super important now. It's always been super important, but now, again, Copilot's just surfacing all these things. Are you taking care of your information? Well, we've been meaning to do that. Okay, well, now's the time. We're planning to go to that. So let's get a plan together, do some data governance, figure out where the crown jewels are, figure out what information is important to us. Do we want to start labeling stuff? How should we do that? What should the labels be? Let's start out with the important ones first, the crown jewels again, and then we can work our way backwards.
This doesn't apply to Copilot. This applies to, I mean, if they're using any kind of AI tool, right? I mean, isn't that?
That's true as well. Yeah.
So they kind of, now's the time where people need to pay attention to see whether they're rolling Copilot out or not.
It's a good thing and it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
The bad thing is, oops, time's up. Now we really got to hurry up. But it's a good thing because now we have a really good story to tell as to why we need to implement these things. Why we might have to spend a couple of dollars, in research and maybe consultants to come in and help us do this, maybe hire some more people, spend a little more money on some higher end licenses, depending on what we want to do, to actually do the things that we've always been saying we're going to do. But, there's always other things, other projects, money to be spent elsewhere. Now, it's not just the Copilot in the tenant for Copilot for 365, but there's all the generative AIs on the internet that people are sending stuff to. So we really have to put a net over our data, especially starting with, again, the very important data.
Yeah. Okay. And so just, this whole Copilot thing, closing thoughts on this, obviously you got to take a look at your baseline and all the, a little bit start over, right? Not over as in overhaul, but just take a fresh look at it.
A review. Yeah. Time for a review for conditional access policies. If you're a Microsoft customer, there's,
several easy things to do.
They are if you know what you're doing. Okay. And it's a good opportunity to say, hey, we could actually improve this, or hey, look at all the exclusions for this MFA policy that someone has been putting in over the last year, and we forgot to remove those exclusions. Goodness, we had half the company. In some cases,
like just doing an audit.
Time to do an audit.
Conditional access and DLP status. And
yeah, it's a great time to do that, to revisit those things that you put in maybe a while back. You've been kind of sort of trying to feed and care for it, but not enough time to deal with it. It's always something you can do tomorrow. Well, today is tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Great. Any other thoughts?
Well, that's pretty much it. Take care of those things. If people don't need Copilot for 365 right away, maybe hold off for a bit on it. It's a great product. Don't get me wrong. It saves productivity people a ton of time. But, the interest goes like this on a new product. It's high, and then, what are we actually getting out of it? And it dips a little bit. So pick your people wisely to pilot it, the people that are going to actually use it. Now, we see this all the time. We give a dozen people a license or a product to use. The first 2-3 days, they're all over it. Then I look a week later, they haven't touched it in a week. So put some metrics in to get people actually in the game, choose the right people.
Yeah.
So it's a great product, but again, maybe slow roll it just a little bit.
Yeah, and certainly do some sort of baseline security review,
Yeah.
just with attention to what the superpowers of Copilot can achieve.
It's a great excuse to do
Yeah.
exactly that.